Let us begin Chapter 7, Sections 1 and 2. Problem number 1, find the domain of each rational expression. For the function g of x is equal to 4 minus 3x over 2, to find the domain, we set our denominator equal to 0, and we solve. But here 2 is never equal to 0. Therefore, the domain is equal to, for every value of x, x is any real number. And that is the domain of that rational expression. For the second one, we set the denominator equal to 0. So we set 3t is equal to 0 and solve. Divide by 3. Therefore, t is equal to 0. So for every value of t, t is a real number. And it cannot equal 0. Okay, that is your final answer for every value of t. T is any real number except 0. The next one, set the denominator equal to 0 and solve. We have 2x squared minus 14x plus 20. Here we can factor. So let's take out a 2 because 2 is common in all these terms. So let's factor out a 2. So we have 2 times x squared is 2x squared. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14x. And 2 goes into 20 10 times. So now we can factor out what's inside the parentheses. X squared is an x times x. And then we ask ourselves what two numbers multiplied equals 10 and added equals negative 7. And that is negative 5 times negative 2 is equal to 10. And negative 5 minus 2 is equal to negative 7. Therefore, our factors are x minus 5 and x minus 2. Now we set that equal to 0. So we have x minus 5 is equal to 0. And x minus 2 is equal to 0. And then we solve. So we have 5 and we have 2. Therefore, x is any real number and x cannot equal 2 and cannot equal 5. So let us write that down for every value of x. X is a real number and x cannot equal 5 and x cannot equal 2. And that is problem number 1. Number 2, simplify each expression. Y plus 9 over 9 plus y. Here you have the same terms. So y plus 9 over 9 plus y is just 1. The second, you have y minus 9 over 9 minus y. So here for this denominator, we can factor out a negative 1. So we have y minus 9. And if we factor out a negative 1 in the denominator, we have negative 1 times y is equal to negative y, and negative 1 times negative 9 is equal to positive y. Again, when you distribute, you come up with the same original terms. Negative 1 times negative 9 becomes positive 9. And here you can cancel y minus 9 over y minus 9, and you're left with negative 1. And that is your final answer, negative 1. For the last part in problem number 2, we can factor out that numerator. Let's take out a -4. -4 is common in both terms. So -4 times x is equal to -4x. -4 times y is equal to -4y. Again, you can distribute to check your answer. And x minus y, x plus y, you just leave it. The x plus y over x plus y cancels, and you're left with -4. And that is your answer. Number 3, find each product and simplify if possible. 9x squared over y times 4y over 3x squared. So here we multiply the numerator and we multiply the denominator. So we have 9x squared times 4y over y times 3x squared. 9 can be simplified as 3 times 3 times x squared times 4 times y, and then in the denominator you have y times 3 this is times x squared. Okay, so now you can cancel the x squareds. You can cancel one of the 3's. You can cancel the y, and you're left with 3 times 4, which is 12, and you're left with the x in the denominator, and that is your answer, 12 over x. Next one, let's simplify this. So let's multiply numerator. Again, it's assumed to have a 1 in the denominator. So let's multiply the numerator. You have 9x cubed y squared times y squared over 18 x y to the 5th times 1. So here we can simplify -9 over 18 is -1/2. And here we can apply the quotient rule. We have x cubed over x, which is x squared, y squared times y squared. Again, when you multiply exponents, you add the degrees. So here you have y to the 4th, y to the 4th over y to the 5th is 1 over y. Again, 4 minus 5 is -1, y to the -1. Let me write this down. 4 minus 5 is y to the -1. Y to the -1 is 1 over y, and that is our final answer. The last part of number 3 is you have m minus n squared, which is equal to m minus n times m minus n times m is over m plus n times, and here we can factor out the m. So let's take out the m from both terms, leaving us with m minus n. Again, m times m is m squared. M times -n is -mn. So here we can cancel the m minus n and the m minus n, and we are left with, and again the m and m cancels, so So we are left with our numerator as m minus n over m plus n. Problem number 4, find each quotient and simplify. When you're dividing exponents, you flip the second fraction and you multiply. So you change a quotient problem into a multiplication problem. So you have 9y to the 4th over 6y times 3 over y squared. So you flip the second fraction and now you want to multiply. So you have 9y to the 4th times 3 over 6, and you have y times y squared, which is y cubed. Now you can simplify. Again, the 6, you can do it as 3 times 2, which cancels the 3. So you're left with 9 over 2, y to the 4th over y is y. Again, you subtract the degrees when you divide exponents. So 9 over 2, y to the 4th over y cubed is y. The second problem of number 4 is another division. So you want to flip the second fraction. So you have 9x to the 5th over a squared minus b squared times 3b minus 3a over 27x squared. So here 9x to the 5th, we can simplify that as 9x squared times x cubed. The 3b minus 3a, you can factor out a negative 3. So here we have a negative 3. And let's change the b and the a because you have a minus b. Let's write our a first here. So we have a. Negative 3 times a gives us negative 3a. Negative 3 times negative b gives us a positive 3b. Again, I just did that. So we can cancel out the a minus b in the denominator. And the a squared minus b squared is a special product rule, which is a plus b times a minus b. And then times 27, you can simplify it as 3 times 9x squared. And here we can cancel out the 9's. We can cancel out the 3. And we can cancel out the a minus b. So we are left with, and also the x squared. So in our numerator, we are left with x cubed. Again, you have a negative, so let's put the negative here. X cubed over a plus b. And that is our final answer. The last one of number 4, m minus n squared, is m minus n times m minus n over m plus n. Again, let's flip the denominator. Let's flip the second fraction, which means the denominator now becomes the numerator. And let's factor the m squared minus mn by factoring out the m. So m times m is m squared. M times negative n is negative mn. So we can do some canceling. M minus n can cancel with the m minus n. And the m can cancel with that m. And we are left with m minus n over m plus n. And that concludes our Chapter 7, Sections 1 and 2.